Julie, welcome to Oregon Life. Thanks for being with us.
Well, I'm so excited to be here, so thank you for having me. So, I just want to talk a little bit about my entrepreneurial journey and how I got into helping youth with entrepreneurship. So, I actually grew up in a very entrepreneurial family. My mom had a little antique store right outside of Oregon for a little while, and my dad had his own heating and air conditioning business. And we had some rental properties. So, we sort of worked on family businesses and helped with different things along the way. And then my parents got us into 4-H. And one of the things we did was we raised steers because we lived out in the country, and we sold them at the fair. And then we bought another steer, and it sort of got us our college fund going. And we learned how to run the business and take care of all of the things we had to take care of. And so I really had a lot of entrepreneurship as growing up. Then when I went to college, I decided I wanted to be a teacher. I always loved teaching and helping other people. So I went into elementary ed at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. And when I got out, there weren't very many jobs in Madison, and they didn't pay very well. And so I decided that wasn't, and I didn't really like my student teaching because there's a lot of rules in schools, and I'm not really a great rule person. So I decided to go back to school. I got an accounting degree. I went into an accounting firm, and then a client of ours asked if we would want to start a business. And I was in my 20s, late 20s at that time, and I was like, I have no idea how to run a business. So he talked me into it, and another person. We went and started this accounting systems business and ran that for 3 years. And then it got sold to another accounting firm that I went to work. But in that 3 years, I learned probably more than I ever had learned in my whole entire life. Probably the whole time I went to school and all of that. And I thought, this is such a valuable thing. And why aren't we teaching this to kids? So I got the opportunity to work at the Small Business Development Center at UW-Madison, and they had a youth entrepreneur camp. And that youth entrepreneur camp was geared towards middle school kids. And in 2008, we had a budget cut, and the director said to me, we're not going to be able to have this camp. And I was like, oh no, this is like my favorite thing to do all year. So I proposed to rewrite the curriculum and get our own staff to run it, and so we wouldn't have very many costs. And we did that, and it became quite a big success. We had kids from all over the country come. They would come and stay in Madison for a week just so they could go to this camp. And working with these kids is so amazing. They're middle school, and middle school is such a great age because it's such a transition age. And this young man that I met, Eli, he came and he had this great idea for educational travel. And he had done that with his family, and decided he really learned a lot, but he knew a lot of other kids couldn't afford this. And this is one trend that I've always have seen in the last few years, is that kids really want to change the world. They really want to make a difference. They really want to solve our problems. So when I first started doing the camp, I think it was more about making money, but now it seems more about making a difference. And the money is secondary, which is what it should be when you start a business. It really should be your passion and talents, and then the secondary. But Eli came in after the camp, and a few other kids have done that too, and wanted to meet and talk about their business. And he came in, and then he got his business listed on the Madison School Foundation site and started raising funds. He would go and speak. He came to our youth entrepreneur alumni event that I put on and talked, and then he raised money for his charity there. And so he kept going on. And then this past year, he actually donated $12,000 to another area nonprofit, CEOs of Tomorrow, for their educational trip to Botswana. And just amazing how the difference he can make. And one thing that I've really noticed is so many businesses around me are closing now because of retirement, and they can't find people to take over that business. So it's even more important at this time, not only to to make kids realize they can make a difference, they can use their passions and talents to change the world, but that they can be the solution for our economies. And now with COVID-19, it's even more vital because there's even more businesses closing, and we really need to have a pipeline, and our schools are not doing a very good job of doing that. So I really think it's really important for us to try to put in some youth entrepreneur programs and other things so that we can actually kind of get that entrepreneurial mindset going, that spirit, and so they actually know that that is a viable career option for their future. One of the most important things for an entrepreneur or any person in that matter is to have your goals. So I have this whiteboard and I write down my goals for the year and put my biggest goals, usually 5 or 6 of them. And then what I do is I can see that it's in front of me, and it's very important to write those down, not just to have them in your head, but to write them down, to be able to see them on an ongoing basis, to kind of have them in your brain. And then I create this action list, and each week I go through and I say, what do I need to do to go towards those goals? And so these are my little tasks that I have to do and get done, and if I don't finish them, I move them. So one of the things is, a lot of people do this electronically, and if that works for you, that's great. But for some reason, when I write it in my handwriting and I really can think about it, it really gets into my brain. And so that's very important for you to do, is to have not only the goals, but the action items that get you to that goal. So talking about goals, one of my big goals was doing a TEDx talk. And I have probably had that on my bucket list for 5 years. So about 2 years ago, a person from Madison College contacted me and said they were going to do a TEDx event in Madison, and they were looking for someone to do youth entrepreneurship. And I was elated pretty much. And then the pressure came, right? Then I'm like, okay, what do I say? What do I include? All of that. So I came up with a proposal. I did my audition. It's like a shortened thing. And then they pick. And it was about 2 years of refining and practicing and working together as a group, all the speakers for the event, until we actually finally got to the event, and it was during COVID. So we had to do it virtually, and there was no audience. So you go in there and you're talking to the chairs, right? But it's really, an exciting thing to do, to get your message out there, because it's going to impact a lot of people that way. And so I was really excited that I got the opportunity to do it, and it really helped me as a speaker, and it really helped me refine my message so that I could really get the message out there about youth entrepreneurship, how important it is not only to kids and inspiring and empowering them, but also to our economies and our communities that we live in. I never thought about writing a book, but then people started calling and asking, how do I put one of these programs together? How do I put a youth entrepreneur program together? And I thought, that might be a business idea. And that's kind of how I started my business, eSeedling, for entrepreneurial seedlings is kind of what I go by. And then I went to a seminar and they said, you really should write a book. It's your calling card, it's your credibility, it gets you indoors, and it can help people. So I wrote More Than a Lemonade Stand, and it's for teachers and youth organizations, parents, people who want to implement some kind of youth entrepreneur program. And it goes through all of the steps that I've done for the past 12 years, putting a program into place, the planning, the forms, the marketing, all of the things that you have to do, plus the curriculum. And so it's kind of like a DIY guide for those people. Kids really want to change the world. They really want to make a difference. They really want to solve our problems.